Jerome Powell was the real reason for the Tesla sell-off today, although some would like to give some of the credit to Dan Ives at Barclays. And the headlines that came about as a result of his decision to put Tesla on hold rather than a buy category. Well, what the headlines didn't note that this was part of a major uptick in his price target to 260 from 220. That wasn't in the headline, of course, only the fact that he put the stock on hold, which would be obvious if it's 260 when the stock is at 275. Anyway, we'll also end this show with a look at Tesla's new Twitter account for AI. You don't want to miss this, so stick around. This is Randy Kirk. If you like this kind of content on Wednesday afternoon, what we do is we take a midweek look at all the hot news that's going on, that's been developing, that's in the middle of developing, etc. We can't cover everything every morning. In the morning news, we try to hit things that are going to affect the stock market that day. So on Wednesday, this is kind of a coming together of all the rest of the news. If you like that, hit the like button so I know to keep doing it. And then you also want to subscribe, hit notify. Yes, I'll tell you about a couple of things coming up that are really going to be exciting. Another Larry Goldberg on Saturday morning you're not going to want to miss. Rene is going to be on tomorrow on inflation. Anyway, hit notify. And then, of course, we'd always love to have you as part of Patreon. Okay, I've mentioned repeatedly this week that there will be no technical reason why Tesla can't go straight to 300. And then I said that Chairman Powell could kill the market, and then he did so, sadly. Well, this gave many who have been on the fence, okay, so your stock runs way up and you're sitting there and you're like, should I sell it? I could sell it, maybe buy lower. Maybe I should sell some of it and buy that back later. Maybe I should just sell and, buy some other stock. Everybody's got their different game plan. Everybody's got their different approach, their different technique that they use for playing the market. And some people, I even saw some Twitters and some people commenting in some of my videos saying, I'm thinking I've had this big run up. Maybe it's time for me to take some profits. Well, when the Fed comes out and makes that comment and the market starts going straight down, a lot of folks take that as an opportunity. And that is undoubtedly what happened today. Anyway, there was also a lot of activity on the call side. As you know, I play leaps, and believe me, I got smacked today. So that also could have been affecting the downward momentum that you saw pretty much all day today. There was some opportunities for people to try to buy the dip, but all of those were slapped back. So the big drop, though, was almost the same as the previous 2 days gain. So if you look at a 3-day chart, you're basically at zero. You are now where you were last Thursday, but I will admit it's a different momentum at this point. Well, that's not all bad, given the run up to date. Nothing has changed with the Tesla fundamentals. In fact, if anything, they're getting better, as you'll see with all the news below. So what do you think? What do I think about tomorrow? Well, because the stock did try to rally over and over today, that's good. It failed. That's bad. So I'm thinking maybe we go sideways tomorrow. Could be some upward momentum in the morning because of, again, people trying to pick a bottom where before it starts going back up again. Everybody loves to buy the dip. I'm thinking maybe sideways tomorrow, and then maybe we start going back up again on Friday if the news doesn't go south with us again, because guess what? Powell has to speak again tomorrow. He's talking to the state Senate committee. He gives a semi-annual report on the state of the banks. And while we know that he has recently said that the regional banks are looking okay now, we also know that in the same breath, he said, yeah, except there are all these commercial office spaces that are kind of a drag, and they're going to have to remortgage their buildings, and they are not going to have an easy time of it. And there's going to be some bankruptcies in that group. So with all that happening, yes, who knows what he'll say to the Senate tomorrow to kill the market. But guess what? Powell's comments didn't move the bond market. In fact, the bond market was down. The 10 years were up for a bit, but they ended up down. The 2 months unchanged to down. Anyway, it's like he made it pretty clear that we're going to get a raise in July. I mean, he seemed like when he was talking last Wednesday, he wanted us to believe that it was kind of up in the air. But today, it seemed like he was saying, no, there's almost certainly going to be a raise. But the bond market didn't buy it. I think the market is unimpressed by this move, even though they're responding to it in the way that they did. I think that overall they're unimpressed with it. I don't think that there is any benefit to a 25 basis point increase because everybody's already used to these numbers, as I mentioned in great detail this morning. And now there are two reports. We have two more reports between now and when he speaks in July. And when they make a decision in July, one of those is the CPI, and then there's the PCE index, which is the Fed's preferred numbers. And also, trueflation is still showing 2.42. But let's talk about the PCE index for a minute, okay? Deutsche Bank released a note today, and they said that they've been doing some modeling, and they believe that core PCE could come down between 3.3 and 3.9 by the fourth quarter, with the most likely being about 3.5. And that's well under the current PCE at 4.6. So 3.5 by the fourth quarter, that's 3 months away. So that was their report. Then Steve Blitz, he's the chief economist at TS Lombard. He comes in and he said he sees CPI falling to 3% now, meaning next month, that the CPI will come in at 3%. And he says he sees it going to 2% by October. I would agree with him 100%. And that is certainly what we're seeing with trueflation. Then we have Gang Hu. Now, I don't know any of these people, but Gang Hu, he's an inflation trader at a New York hedge fund called Windshores Capital Partners. He did some modeling and he says, well, you know, I'm not saying my modeling is the best in the world, but I do this every day. The market is implying a roughly 2.5% CPI for the next 12 months. I don't know, Chairman Powell. It seems like everybody is on the other side of this compared to you, and they aren't believing your numbers. So we'll see what happens over the next day or two. Weekly jobless claims come in tomorrow, and there's no real change expected. All right, some Tesla news. Tesla's in the process, apparently, of buying a battery induction charging company called Wiferion. Don't know if that's the right pronunciation. They're a German company, and apparently they are making lots and lots of induction charging equipment for companies all over the world. But now there's only one reason Tesla would be interested in them, and that is if they know that Wiferion can make a charger that will work for an automobile. You may remember in a recent video that they did show an induction charger underneath the car. So that might have been a hint that this was in the works. There's a lot of rumor and uncertainty around this. Brighter with Herbert said that his information is that this is a done deal. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Could be a big deal going forward. Now, the big thing that's been happening for 2 or 3 days now has been this whole business about India. And Elon says he's a big fan of Prime Minister Modi of India, and he thinks India is going to eclipse China over the next decade. Big fan of what's happening in India. They are now larger in terms of their population. Their population is growing. China is now slightly smaller than India, and their population is shrinking and has no chance of turning around. Well, the good news is Larry Goldberg, who you love on this channel, Larry is going to be on my show Saturday morning, and he's going to talk about India. He isn't, well, I don't know if he's called himself an expert on India, but he has done tons of business in India. I actually attempted to sell my bottle manufacturing plant years ago to an Indian company. It didn't quite work out. So I know a teeny bit, but apparently Larry knows a lot. So stay tuned for that. Hit the notify button so that you'll be notified about Larry's conversation about India on Saturday morning. Now, what I will tell you is that I have been really looking at some of these countries that are leapfrogging. My wife and I actually went on a trip. We went to Seoul, to Tokyo, and to Singapore on the same trip. I want to say that was 2 summers ago. 3 of the safest, 3 of the most prosperous, 3 of the cleanest places you're ever going to visit in the world, but also 3 of the highest tech places in the world. And guess what? In the 1950s, all 3 of these places were basically bombed to the ground. I'm sorry, just a fact. They were basically out of business. they have done all of this in that 70-year period. And how did they do it? They had a blank slate, almost like Tesla starting the company with a blank slate. They had a blank slate. They didn't have an infrastructure. They could do a modern infrastructure. They didn't have to throw away or overcome resistance to old infrastructure approaches. They got to start from scratch. You're seeing this in country after country. India is primed for this. They have tons of engineers in that country. They're a smart country. English is their primary language. They are geared to go. I would not be shocked at all to see India become the major player, passing China over the next several years because of this opportunity. So Tesla going into India is a major, major direction. And you can see the smiles on Elon's face as he, I think, is anticipating the business can be done in India. Maybe by all three, maybe by several of his companies, not just Tesla. Anyway, spoiler alert, Larry is also a fan of India. Okay. So Jim Farley made the news. He made the news a couple of weeks ago by deciding to be part of the national charger, North American charger standard. And then today he decided to take a little shot at Elon in terms of the Cybertruck and said, look, this Cybertruck is for, the Beverly Hills group. And I'm paraphrasing. It's a lifestyle truck and it's not for the hardworking guy out there. And I know how to build trucks for the hardworking guy. Anyway, a little fun, a little competitive thing popping up. I think the Cybertruck will be a really, really, really good work truck, but hey, we'll know in about 3 months. So this morning, the futures are flat to slightly up. That is not shocking that they would be slightly up after a blowout day. I don't know exactly whether, well, why don't I just take a real quick look right now and see if there's any change in the futures, even as we're doing the show. Let me just look real fast. And futures continue. Nope. Just a second here. No, future pre-market. Oh, here we go. No, so NASDAQ down a little, the Dow up a little, and the S&P down slightly. So anyway, still flat. We'll see what happens in the morning. Now, huge news on top of huge news. Tesla has a new Twitter account. It's called Tesla AI. That is where we're going to go next. I'm going to take you there. Let me go ahead and hit my, I have to, as usual, futz around and get you to my share screen. And then let's go right over here. Oh. All right, here we go. So this is the Twitter AI account. And you can see it starts off by saying Tesla is building the foundation models for autonomous robots. Well, there you go. So we have, you've seen these with the FSD, you've seen these kind of models, you've seen the kinds of virtual arrangements that can be done. And here is the robot being put into one of those situations. Our multimodal neural networks are already in customer vehicles. These networks take it in arbitrary modalities such as the camera videos, the maps, the navigation, the inertial measurement units, GPS, etc. And then they'll be able to take that and make predictions and make decisions out of that. All of this is enabled by fleet scale auto labeling. Whoops, so we don't want that up there. And then they take the video data from multiple trips. This is in the cars in the same location. They can reconstruct the entire scene and then try different ideas. And they build state-of-the-art generative modeling techniques. These predict possible outcomes given past observations. And then it's in a jointly consistent manner across multiple camera views. You've seen all this in various meetings over the last couple of years. Then you can produce different outcomes, and then the neural network takes over and trains the models. These models learn from all kinds of extremely diverse data from the Tesla fleet. All of that is put in models as well. And then they get trained on Dojo. And here is the big news. I hope you waited for it. So the big news is Dojo production starts next month. Now, I don't know what that means. Put it in the comments below if you think you know what that means. I will be watching for more information about what it really means that Dojo production starts in July. I've seen them building Dojo cabinets. It looked like they had already built about 4 cabinets. So what does it mean production begins? Does it mean that Dojo begins to produce data or begins to be used, in their information flow as opposed to their Nvidia equipment? Is this a switchover month? I'm not exactly sure what Dojo production means, but it must mean something important because they've marked it here as starting July 23rd. You can see that there is some amount of compute prior to July 23rd, but it says Dojo production begins. I think it means that they have enough compute that they can start switching over this massive amount of data over into Dojo, but I could be completely wrong. Let me know in the comments below. Then by January of 24, the Dojo system will reach one of the top 5 systems of this type in the entire world. And then by October of next year, it will hit 100 exaflops. So this is apparently is all set and ready to go. This doesn't look like maybe this is what we'll do. It looks to me like this is pretty well clearly the direction. I'm guessing it has to do with building and adding to, building and adding to. But anyway, I thought this was tremendously interesting. Oh, I think there was one more comment. Let me see here. Yeah, so this was part of a thing they were sending out, asking people to join their team. And then I thought there was one more comment. Anyway, somewhere along the line, I think Elon said something to the effect that, oh, yes, I know. He said it exactly. He said, Nvidia will not be the only player forever. That could just mean, okay, it can be done by others and others will be joining the race, or it could mean that Tesla has pretty well come to the conclusion that they should be part of this business. Anyway, we'll certainly find out what it all means sometime soon. So if this was good, hit like. If you want to see more of it, hit subscribe. If you want to be sure to see Rene tomorrow and Larry on Saturday morning, and also what else have I? Oh, did you see the 23 and 24 projections? The 23 projections were out on Tuesday. The 24 projections were out. Wait, they're out tomorrow. You can't have seen them yet. Those are out tomorrow also. And the 26 projections, that's what I was saying. That was out last week. You should be looking at all 3 of those if you haven't looked at them already. So anyway, hit notify and then buy some books. There they are. They're all lined up for you. Buy the Elon Musk mission in particular. If you're an entrepreneur, buy the other 3. You won't be sorry. And then join Patreon. Right now, there's a 7-day free trial, and all of my spreadsheets, including the 2024 spreadsheets, is already up there on Patreon. And actually, the video is already up there too, because I already shot the video. And so that is already up on Patreon. So this is Randy Kirk. It has been great talking to you.